So as you may have heard, the Supreme Court is hearing a case regarding presidential immunity, specifically whether the founders intended for the president to be immune from criminal charges for acts committed as president. Interestingly, the Senate Democrats are claiming that Justice Clarence Thomas should recuse himself because, according to them, he has a conflict of interest. Now, what would this conflict of interest be? Well, as it turns out, Thomas's wife has been very outspoken regarding support for Trump in his claims that the 2020 election was stolen from them. So they're saying that because of that Thomas is, has a conflict of interest and should recuse himself from the case. Now, if this seems like a stretch to you, it does to me as well, because the two situations rather, really have no bearing on each other. The first one is a strict constitutional question. Is this something that the founders intended? It has nothing to do with Trump per se. It's strictly a constitutional question. I mean, on one hand, you're dealing specifically with what the founders intended, what's written in the Constitution and in the founding documents, and the discussions that they may have had that touched on the topic. And on another hand, you're talking about specific action that one president did, whether they were justified in, or whether what they did was improper or not. Completely different, completely unrelated. So it's really totally dishonest to try and make it appear as if the one has any impact on the other, which should cause a justice to recuse himself for a conflict of interest. And the level of hypocrisy on display here is just astonishing, because you can't forget that there's also a situation where President Trump is being, prosecuted, and on one case, the judge in the case that is overseeing the case has publicly said things which would lead someone to believe that she is already convinced of Trump's guilt, and thinks him to be a totally unacceptable person to be president. So how is that not a conflict of interest? And let us not forget the case where we have an attorney general who is prosecuting Trump in another case, who specifically ran with an election platform saying that if she won the election, she would prosecute Trump. So here we have someone who, before even being in a position to review investigative evidence on whether Trump did something wrong or not, is already committing to a prosecution. So how is having someone like that in charge of a prosecution against him not a conflict of interest? But do you hear anything from them about that? No. So yeah, I think it's just really disturbing, and unfortunately this seems to be the norm nowadays in terms of what's going on in politics. So we'll just have to ride it out and see what happens.